What's going on, LEGO Maniacs, and welcome back to a brand new video. I am ZacATK. So let's keep discussing the LEGO Smart Brick system that's due to come out in March. And so the main thing that I feel what LEGO has going on here is they have not created a brand new product for the world to enjoy. In fact, they have created themselves a problem. So the LEGO Smart Brick problem consists of a handful of different bullet points. I just want to talk to you about them today and just share my thoughts on this and how I feel like LEGO is about to make a huge misstep in what they're trying to accomplish with rolling out the new Smart Brick technology. So let's talk about the big one, and that is that LEGO is only going to be rolling out the Smart Brick system to 6 countries, not every country, only 6, and those consist of the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Poland, and Australia. So no Denmark. So you're the home of the Lego brick. Home of the Lego brick is not going to be getting the Smart Brick system, which I think is very, very interesting. That we're starting off with 3 sets. We have the TIE Fighter, the Darth Vader's TIE Advance, the X-Wing, and the Imperial Throne Room Duel. So I think it's really interesting that we're only starting off with 3 and potentially rolling out to 3 more. And so what's happening is that I think LEGO is realizing, or maybe realized from the get-go, that, okay, maybe this isn't going to take off like we expected, and so we're going to be testing this in a handful of different markets. Obviously, the United States being one of them, and I was watching one of my favorite LEGO YouTubers, Action Flash, and he was talking about how Canada's not getting this, and that he could easily cross the border to the United States, grab his set and come back, and all that fun jazz. I think it's really interesting and kind of funny that you're forcing some people who may not be in the ambassador program, who are LEGO content creators, to buy these sets, and they're not even available in their country. Now, it could be later on that it could be amended to North America, which would consist of, obviously, Canada, United States, and Mexico, but I really doubt it. If anything, it'd be probably Canada and United States. But the big issue with this is that there are going to be some people who are excited for this, and I don't want to discount those people who may be very, very excited for this new Smart Brick technology and to test it out. Personally, I would like to experiment with maybe one of these sets just to see if it'd be even worth buying just for the smart minifigures, just for a collector state. But the more and more I look at the Smart Brick, and the more and more I go back and look at all the footage from CES and from watching other LEGO content creators, I really think it's interesting that they all have the same feelings, that they just don't feel like this is going to do good. And for me personally, I feel like this is one of those things where this is going to be another gimmick that LEGO has created and has dabbled with the technology, and one that's not going to succeed. And that's hard for me to say because I really want LEGO to do good, because it's my favorite hobby, like I said in my previous video. And I look back at all the sets I have built, and I actually built a handful of sets over this past weekend. I built 5 in set, in fact. And so I just thinking about this and looking at it, it's got me wonder, what's going to happen when this inevitably doesn't do as good as LEGO may think. And here, and also let's play the other side of the coin. What happens if this takes off, if this explodes, right? And absolutely blows the water for expectations for the LEGO group out of the water, and they develop better Smart Brick technology, better, more robust Smart Brick technology. And there's that factor too. There's that factor of the idea that maybe we can actually get better sound effects, better lights and sounds, better R&D, because these sets took off because people wanted to give them a chance, or there were people who were genuinely excited for this. There's that potential, but I don't really see that being the higher odds in favorite for that to happen. So where this could go on the other side of things is that LEGO produces maybe, let's just say, 5 million total units of these sets, and that's divided amongst the first three just to see. They may already have the other sets in pre-production. They may already have other things planned, like a backup plan, which I think that would be the smart thing to do for Lego, is to have a backup plan for these smart minifigure sets that may be an anomaly, may be something that just exists out in the ether, kind of like the other past electronic ventures that Lego has done in the last handful of years. So there's that, and they may have a backup plan in place where other Lego Star Wars sets come out. And here's the main thing that I feel like is the big problem with Lego and introducing the smart brick technology. You're not giving people the choice. You are giving people this ultimatum of either you're going to buy this set and you're either going to miss out, and you're either going to adapt to this technology or you're not. Because in the unlikelihood that this does take off and that Lego does succeed in this venture, you're going to have a jacked up price for these smart brick sets. One of my viewers commented on my most recent video saying this is just a way for Lego to make stuff even more expensive. And I will admit, Lego has gotten pretty pricey in the last 3 years, and it blows me away because as someone who decided, all right, cool, I'm gonna have to pick one hobby to really get into and to really enjoy because everything else is just becoming too expensive to have multiple hobbies. And so I choose Lego, and then next thing you know, we're looking at like a 25 price increase, and now we're looking at these smart bricks being introduced, which is only going to increase the value of the set even more, the MSRP of the set even more. And to me, that's not fair for someone who chose to really make this their center point and focal hobby. And it's also not fair to people who are also getting to the hobby because they are probably in the same boat of like, you know what, I'm just going to choose one because things are just getting a little too crazy here in other departments. But with that being said, the main thing is choice. So I think the way to go for your next smart brick sets, let's just take out the smart feature. Let's include alternate builds in these sets to where, all right, cool, you can either have a smart brick built tie advance or you can have a regular tie advance. Have that option where you have these extra pieces, kind of like these Creator 3-in-1 sets, where you have the ability to not only build this, but you could also build this. And so giving that option, all right, cool. All right, and let's just say that the smart minifigure has to be there. All right, cool. What is that? Just a little tag inside there that maybe costs 10 cents to make. So therefore the minifigure should be what, according to Lego standards, $7 instead of a $5 minifigure. So let's just throw that into the mix. So you have to have the smart minifigure. Cool. That's awesome. We can make that compromise there. But the smart brick, the charger, and all that, take that out. And the tags, take the tags out too. Leave those out because those also raise the price too. So we have the necessary evil of the smart minifigure alone because it still gives a minifigure in the set. But then have these smart brick upgrade packs to where you could upgrade these builds and include all the tags. Don't gatekeep, don't paywall lock behind these tags behind these other sets. Put them in a master upgrade set to where, all right, cool, these are all the smart bricks that we have, our smart tags that are going to be a part of sets for this year. We're going to include them in this set where you get a charger, 2 smart bricks, and all the tags. And if you want to make that, that little upgrade kit, $50. All right, cool. Because I'm sure that's how much they would be considering you're making your battle packs $50 now. So $50 for an upgrade kit. Awesome. If people want it, the option is there for them to have it. If they don't want it, then they're not being forced to adapt into this new ecosystem and forced to adapt and add things to their collection they may not necessarily want. Especially with the builds and all of these, like the X-Wing, the A-Wing and all that. The builds just don't look good. And I get it. Lego. 100% get it. You had to make changes for the builds. That way they could accommodate for the brick. I still feel like you could have done a little bit better, and that is closing things up and adding a button. Like if we have buttons on stud shooters, or if we have little buttons that can trigger other mechanisms to happen to open and close and things like that, you could have made a button and closed everything up instead of making everything look squished and look kind of out of proportion. I will admit that the TIE Fighter looks very, very clean, but it's very small, and the X-Wing just looks very scrunched and forced into a small form factor. It doesn't look good. It just really doesn't look good. But again, that goes back to my idea of like, give people this 3-in-1 option, like with your creator 3-in-1 sets, give them the option to where they can either build the smart brick version or the non-smart brick version. And maybe there's a hybrid in between that people can come up with the extra pieces. I feel like that would have been a better approach. It would have been more flushed out. It would have given the illusion of choice. At this point, really, it wouldn't be an illusion, but it would give the option of choice, even though the smart brick figure is in there. So you have that choice that you could have done of where you could have had it smart brick or not. And it would have been an awesome thing, especially if the smart minifigures maybe had some detail about them, some great detail printing on them to where they could have been some form of exclusive minifigure. So you have that consolation prize for people who may not necessarily be wanting to get into the smart brick ecosystem, but they still have the ability to collect exclusive minifigures to these sets. Give people a reason to buy the set because of the minifigure, not because it's smart, but because it's unique, because it's not going to be in other sets. That's something that I feel like would have solved a lot of this. And so just kind of backtracking here and going over everything. Make your sets to where they can be smart brick or not. Give your sets the ability to be upgraded with smart bricks. And down the road, let's just say if down the road smart bricks really don't do well, it's kind of 50-50, so you kind of want to continue on just to see where things go, but you've gone the route of making sets that could be smart brick or not. I think down the road, if you want to say, hey, we have this upgrade kit, where you can make a mod to your AT-AT or your Millennium Falcon or R2-D2 or whatever. We have this mod kit that you can add on with the additional instructions to do this, kind of like how Light My Bricks and all the other, lighting solution companies for Lego have out there. That, I think, would have been your bread and butter of like, hey, cool, we have these mod kits, these smart mod kits for pre-existing sets like 3PO, Chopper, R2-D2, and if you really get crazy with Cheese Whiz, the 2008 Death Star, something like that, because there are all these untapped markets I feel like Lego is ignoring, especially in this electronic, what they're trying to get into, this integration of electronic technology into their Lego sets. There's a huge market where they're missing out, where all these other companies, these smaller companies, which kudos to these companies for making light up kits for your Lego sets. Lego could have gone that route as well, cars and stuff like that, Fast and Furious, Speed Champions, all kinds of stuff that they could have done, but instead they decided to test the waters with Star Wars and probably more likely Lego City. I feel like those are going to be the themes they're going to go after first, is maybe even Lego Harry Potter, because there have been sound bricks and light bricks in Lego Harry Potter as well. So these are probably going to be the beta sets, if you will, for this. And who knows, maybe down the road in the next wave of smart bricks, maybe these smart brick sets will be more flushed out, more detail, maybe better. Maybe this is just kind of like their first crack at it, and maybe the next wave will be something that's more detailed and fleshed out. I would love to know your thoughts of the Lego Smart Brick problem in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of the Lego Smart Bricks. Do you think this is going to flop? Do you think this is going to take off? Or do you think maybe along the lines, like I do, that the option should have been there to either add it or not? So anyways, I greatly appreciate you watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure and smash that like button, subscribe for more videos, and hey, share this video with a friend who you talk about Lego with and want to discuss the Lego Smart Brick problems, and maybe like to chime in too and see what they think as well. But you guys have a fantastic rest of the week, friends. Keep building, comment, like, subscribe, please, and I'll see you in the next video.